Hey everyone, welcome to Engineer Science YouTube channel, and this is our second lecture of resolution of vector series. In this lecture we are going to discuss that what are the rectangular components of a vector. In lecture number 1 we discussed about the resolution of vector, we discussed its definition, and we see that how a vector can be resolved into its component. So if you want to get the basic concept of resolution of vector, then I am putting the link of that video in my description box. So let's start today's topic. What basically the rectangular components of a vector A are the components in which a vector is resolved are called the rectangular components of the vector. Since we know a two-dimensional vector can be resolved into x direction as well as in y direction, the component which is along x-axis or the component which is parallel to x-axis is known as the x component of the vector. The component which is along x-axis, lying along x-axis or parallel to x-axis is known as the x component of the vector, whereas the component which is perpendicular to x-axis, or we can say the parallel to y-axis, is known as the y component of the vector, and it is also known as the vertical component of the vector. So these two components means x component and y component in which the vector is resolved are called the rectangular components of the vector. So what is the basic definition of rectangular components? The components in which a two-dimensional vector is resolved are called the rectangular components of a particular given vector. And we know that there are two types of rectangular component. The first component is the x component, the second component is the y component. X component is also known as horizontal component, whereas the y component is also known as vertical component. Now the point which is necessary to understand here is that we resolved a vector into its two components, x and y component. Now what are the direction of these components? So remember that x component always lies along x-axis. So the direction of x component of a vector is always 0. Suppose if the vector f is resolved, then we get its x component which always lies at 0 degree angle. So the x component of the vector means horizontal component of the vector always lies at 0 degree angle. Similarly, if we talk about the y component of the vector, then remember that y component of a vector always lies at 90 degree, means parallel to y-axis. So their direction can never be changed, although their magnitudes are different from case to case depending upon the magnitude and direction of resultant vector. But their directions are always constant, means x-axis along lies at 0 degree angle, whereas the y component always lies at 90 degree angle. So this is the basic concept of rectangular components of a vector.